Fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. I'm here with Robert from Sweden, from the club I played in 2017. So we're gonna hit some balls. He plays with a Pure Aero 98. You're a very good player, so what was your kind of tennis career like? You're a coach now.
Yeah, I'm a coach now at Salk. I played for a long time as a junior. I stopped playing when I was 19, so quite early. But play on the future tour, try to, take some points. But I mean, it is tough in the beginning. So I won some qualifies, made it to a main draw, but some tough matches in the main draw.
Always, I mean, people to get an ATP point, unless maybe you go to Kenya or something, it's tough. It's not an easy job, right? Because they're all like animals over there, you know? It's like everybody wants to get it so badly. So that's cool. So you're a great player. You have a Pure Aero 98.
Yes, I have.
With customization added to it.
Yeah, I have put some lead tape on it. I would say 10 and 2 o'clock. Yes, and put some in the handle as well. Just to find that balance. I don't want it to be too heavy in the racket head or the grip.
You can't really get enough racket head speed with that. No,
I think so.
Hurricane or RPM Hurricane?
Yes, Hurricane.
This you've used for your whole career or no?
No, for a long time I did use it. Then I stopped using it. Play with Silinko, I believe.
Oh yeah, good strings. Yeah.
Yes, and after that, I'm sponsored now with Babolat, and I try Hurricane again, and I love it. And it doesn't break too.
No, it holds on, and it's not like too stiff for the arm either. It's actually quite a nice string.
Yes.
RPM Blast is a little bit firmer for the arm, it feels like. Cool, so we're gonna hit some balls. He's gonna test some rackets. We brought a bunch of rackets. He was curious about V-Course and the E-Zones and Extreme Tours and stuff. We'll see what he thinks about them after this playtest.
Yeah, perfect. Let's go.
Cool. So on the Smorgasbord today, I have a few sticks here. Nordic Dots Dunlop CX Tour, Blade 98 V8 1820 and an E-Zone 98. He's a 98 guy using the Pure Aero 98, so I thought that would be very suitable.
So we started with the Yonex V-Core 98, uncustomized in this case, with a combination of Restring Sync and Restring Zero. Use the code TennisNerd and get some discount if you want to check out these strings from Restring. This combo he liked, the tension was very low, and I think this works well in the V-Core 98. And he felt like, especially on the backhand, he could hit it really freely. He will comment also later, but I could feel like the ball was pretty heavy, and he got some easy depth with the low tension. As you might know, I'm a huge fan of low tensions. I think people should definitely give them a go and consider going down a little bit in string tension. There are a lot of tennis elbows being developed around the world due to too high of a string tension with a polyester string. It depends, of course, on the racket, on your style, on your level, on your physicality, and many other factors, but there are many pros who use like 44 pounds, 40 pounds. I mean, you can go down all the way down to Manarino's 20 something pounds, but you don't need to do that, but consider dropping a little bit. And he really enjoyed this in the V-Core 98. If you're a Tennis Nerd member, you know that I've been doing a first impressions review out just the other day of the Yonex V-Core 98 Tour, which I personally feel is a very interesting racket, even if I wasn't a huge fan of this one. So check that out if you want. Go to patreon.com/tennisnerd or our YouTube members page. But Robert really enjoyed the V-Core. This makes sense according to his racket preferences, because he is a kind of modern player who likes to attack the ball and hit pretty big, and I think the V-Core gave him all that. Robert really wanted to try a blade, and I had a V8 in the bag, 1820, strung with String Project Sirius, a round, slick, nice polyester string, 5% off using Tennis Nerd 5 as a side note. And this one was interesting compared to what he's using. Obviously the launch angle will be lower, the power level will be lower. It's a more demanding racket for sure than the V-Core or the Pure Aero 98 and some of the other rackets in the playtest. And it was pretty evident straight from the get-go that he'd struggled to develop quite the same pace and a little bit of that free launch that he got from the open pattern and very kind of launchy, flexible V-Core 98. So this was not his favorite racket, although he liked it, especially on the backhand. He had a very nice backhand, Robert, and could really rip the ball with the backhand, which is a bit flatter, but on the forehand wing he struggled a bit to attack the ball and get a bit of launch, and it was clear that these are very two different rackets, and the V-core or arrow suits him so much better. But interesting for him to try because he wanted to, and this is one way you can know, like, okay, this type of racket is not for me, it's too much work, or it doesn't work on one stroke, and that's the way to go. This is the PT57A 1820, not the highest swing weight in history, it's like 340 strong here with Tourline O Toro. This one he felt was very difficult to use, and most of the time when I hand this one out, I think people will be like, oh, I love this racket, but more advanced players, they don't really like it, while lesser advanced players, they actually love it. So that I find that very interesting, because the more advanced players, they're used to getting a lot more from the racket and needing more power, otherwise it's tougher for them to compete. Obviously there are PT57s A's still on the tour, but for rec players on the lower level, the power level is not as important. It's more important that you get the ball into play, and I just threw that in there as a little bit of an interesting try. When you're testing a lot of rackets, I recommend going back to your standard racket and set up in between, kind of as a palate cleanser, so at least you're feeling the difference. If you're not like super used to testing rackets, which I know some of you are listening to this, I really think it's important to go back from time to time, otherwise it's easy to lose kind of the sensation of just playing with your normal racket. And also you get really confused when you're playing with 5-6 different rackets. So this is Robert hitting with his Pure Arrow, customized weight at 10 and 2, and in the handle. Nothing crazy in terms of swing weight or weight, maybe 330 swing weight. I did not get to measure this racket, but I tried it as well, and I really like the setup. This frame is obviously great, the Pure Arrow 98, one of my favorites of the modern frames, and yeah, I can really understand why he likes it. But he did try something later in the video that he considered even switching to, but more about that later. Robert likes spin rackets, and he did try the V-Core. He plays with the Pure Arrow 98, and of course he had to try the Head Extreme Tour, which is now called the Head Extreme Pro. Just recently released a review of that one. This is the Head Extreme Tour Oxetic, the first generation of Oxetic, and this was a racket he really liked because it suits his style, and he has a little bit more control than the Pure Arrow 98. So this is where you see a little bit of a difference. Pure Arrow 98, probably the most power of the spin 98s. V-Core, a little bit plusher, a bit more dwell time in the string bed, but a tad more launchy and erratic. And then this Extreme Tour or Extreme Pro has more control. So that's how I would compare them. And he really liked this frame. I did have a very similar customization on my racket to his racket, so I think that could have helped with weight at 10 and 2 and weight in the handle. And this is one of my favorite rackets, especially on the one-handed backhand. I really feel like this racket just works perfectly on that wing. And strung here with Nordic Dots 127, which is one of my favorite strings, a spin string that you can string low and still get good bite, similar to other kind of stiff strings. It's a firm string, but with firm strings, I love them if you string them a bit lower. But I'm going to stop talking about low string tension. So this one was one where he, besides one more racket, I think he played his best tennis, and I could see that this could be a switch for him if he needed to, or he had offered him a contract different than Babolat or something. So this racket really worked out on both backhand and forehands, and he could play freely with the frame. They had Extreme Tour customized.
Fellow tennis nerds, we are not exhausted, but we're very sweaty, as you can see. And we had a good session. Very good player, Robert. What did you think of the rackets you tried? You tried V-Core, Extreme Tour, PT57A.
Yes.
And what did you feel around the rackets?
I mean, I'm all about Babolat, but I must say the Yonex V-Core were amazing. The sweet spot, the bigger head size up on the racket.
Yeah.
Felt amazing. Good power, good spin. It saved me a lot. Maybe the strings a little bit soft for me.
Yeah, they were very loose, to be fair.
Yes.
So it wasn't like exactly what he uses on his arrow.
Yeah.
But the ball came off your racket with a lot of like pop and a lot of spin.
Yes,
So it was very good.
And also the Head Extreme Pro, very impressed. I would say it was very similar to Babolat 98, but a little bit more control from the pattern. It felt very good, especially on my forehand.
Yeah, you could really whip through the ball. Like he had a good acceleration on the racket head.
Yes.
So I think these like modern spin rackets with a more control is kind of what his jam, right?
Yeah.
That's what you should play with. based on what you play with. What did you think of the PT Fit 7A, which is kind of like an old school, very, very flexible racket?
Ooh, that one was tough to play with.
Yeah.
I have played with some similar rackets when I was younger and even now when I'm older, but you feel the flex is a little bit scary sometimes, especially on your forehand. It feels so whippy and it feels off sometimes. But still a classic and I mean cool racket to play with, yes.
And then the Blade 98, but there was the 1820 version. What did you feel like with an 8020 compared to kind of the more spin 6019 that you're using?
It was a little bit weird because I mean when you felt the hit in your racket, it felt very good, but the launch was not there. And because of
the ball is
pattern,
like a missile kind of flat, right?
On my backhand felt amazing, but on the forehand side, I hit a lot in the net and I tried to launch it a little bit more, but it felt a little bit weird for me, a little bit off. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you can immediately see even like there are different strings. It's not a scientific test, but you at least get like some kind of sensation of what the racket is doing to your game.
Session number 2 was played on Hardcourts here at the same club in Bel Air in Estepona in Costa del Sol, Spain. He tried a few a little bit more extreme rackets here, but also one that he really fell in love with. So stay tuned and see which one he thinks is the best of the bunch. Since Robert plays with the Pure Aero 98, I just felt like he had to try the Pure Drive 98. Since he's not like this most spin-oriented player and likes to attack the ball, I thought like with this extra power and more like through the court trajectory might really suit him and his game. So no customization added to this one, strung up with Tourline Caviar and Tourline Super Toro, a hybrid. You can check out more hybrids on tourline.ai, which is their omakase program where you get a custom hybrid. I helped develop this program a little bit, and it's always interesting to try hybrid setups, but yeah, you can get really lost in that jungle. But this program is supposed to help you, and you get 20% discount on Tourline, regular Tourline strings if you use Tennis Nerd 20. Enough about that. This racket, yeah, I really felt like the ball came at me quickly and he could really whip it because it is a bit lighter than his racket. Not a huge deal, but a little bit, and had massive power. So I really felt like the ball was really attacking me here and I had to adjust quickly. And obviously it's going to be a little bit different on hardcourt and clay, but I think it's good also to do different testing sessions and try different surfaces, different match situations, different opponents as you're selecting your racket. You can't just play with it 10 minutes and decide. It has to be a bit more of a process. But this one felt quite natural from the get-go. Then I handed him 2 different colors of the Model 99 from Nordic Dots. It's a prototype racket, as it's not revealed yet. It will be released in October or something like that, so stay tuned for that. I really like this racket. I've been playing quite a bit with it, as you might know, and so has Henrik. It has a kind of like an E-zone, but in a 99 square inch head size with a bit more of a plusher feel. Feels really pro stock when you play with it. The downside, I would say, is it has a little bit of launch sometimes in the string bed, similar to a boom, but overall it plays more solidly for its weight, and you can really get it going through the hitting zone. So this one he liked as well. I thought it was like a very good modern racket where you could generate power and spin. The string pattern is a bit more dense than his Aero, and I think he prefers a little bit more of a standard string pattern. The progressive pattern of the Nordic Dots 99 will not be for everyone, but it's quite an interesting try to have a pattern that's quite dense high up in the string bed and then opens up a bit more lower in the string bed. So this one he played really well with as well. I like to throw in the Pure Aero Rafa Origin when I do these types of playtests. It's just a fun racket to try, feeling Rafa's weight and swing weight. Just such a heavy beast, but it plays nice. It's one of those rackets I just love to hit with myself from time to time because of the heft and the kind of shots you can generate. So Robert tried it, and Babolat guy as he is, he liked this one as well. Of course, on shots where you just have to make like short movements and maybe, you know, go to the net and stuff like that, it's tough with this one because the swing weight is like 370. But when he could really go for his shots and attack the ball, the shots were super heavy, the heaviest by far in this playtest, and I had no chance there. So interesting frame to play with. Maybe you can use it as a training tool if you have one, but yeah, it's not going to be for everyone. You might get some arm problems at some point because it's a lot of racket to swing. but I like to bring it. I like to bring some of these kind of like one old school racket like the PT57A and one really heavy frame like a personal racket of Murray or Novak or this Rafa Origin, for example. So this was a fun playtest. It's not for everyone, but it's one of those that puts a smile on your face, and when you're playing well, it can really like demolish the ball. Then I thought what would happen if I brought the new Extreme MP. So let's go up to 100 square inches and see if he likes the power, likes the spin. This was strung with Headlynx Tour, a black one, around 23 kilos, that's 51 pounds. And yeah, he played obviously well with all of these kind of more modern style rackets. The Blade and the PT57A were like the rackets I noticed that he liked the least. This one he enjoyed, but the balls were flying a little bit more at times than if you compare to his Aero 98 or the Head Extreme Tour or the VCore 98. So I think 98 square inch with this kind of power spin racket suits more advanced players overall. There will of course be exceptions to the rule, but you're gonna get a little bit more launch, a little bit more liveliness from a 100 square inch racket like this one. So I think the Extreme Pro, the new one, would have suited him better than this MP. Not a bad racket of course, but we're all personal tastes, and this is gonna give you more of everything over the Extreme Pro or Tour Oxetic 1. To summarize, this was not really a scientific test, more to give Robert a taste of what's out there. There's so many good rackets on the market, like it's hard to find a bad one, I would say. It's more about what's your taste, what's your style, what's your level of play, what do you need from the racket, what's your weakness and strengths, and so on. And in Robert's case, it's pretty clear that he should play with something that he actually is using already, which is like the pure Aero 98. He could easily play also with the VCore 98 or the Head Extreme Pro or Tour. So these were all good rackets for him. The one racket that he liked the most, that he played the best tennis with and that he was really flowing with, was this one, the Babolat Pure Drive 98. Great power, a little bit more control. I'm sure an ISO 98 or a Dunlop FX 500 Tour could also have worked for him, but this could be something he would consider later on, and he was actually saying that afterwards that, yeah, this was the winner in the playtest, and the way he played with this was pretty spectacular. So the issue, I would say, with the Babolat Pure Drive 98, having also tested this one and being positive about it alongside other players, is that it's really firm, and he did feel that the next day. So the stiffness of this racket is high, and something to take into consideration because these strings were not super stiff. So the Pure Drive 98, great racket, but a bit stiff, can hurt you. So I'm really looking forward to the new Pure Drive, which should have more of that kind of flax fibers of the Pure Aero 98, that is much more comfortable. So the new Pure Drive 98 or regular Pure Drive 100 could be a real winner racket. So this was Robert's favorite so far. I played the best tennis in this test with the Pure Aero 98. That's a racket I really like. I play a lot with the Nordic Dots rackets as well, and the VCore 98, but this works really well for me. I tried Robert's setup and didn't play with my own, but it's a racket I could easily play with. But more to come on the topic of choosing a racket very soon. We're gonna have some closing words with Robert, and I'm keen to hear now from you in the comments. What is your favorite racket of the bunch? Do you have some questions based on all this? What would you like as kind of like a comparison video of rackets to come? Let me know in the comments.
With my work as well, it's cool to, you know, play with my my students. Makes it easier also with the planning and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I love this. You know, play and teach out on the court.
Proper tennis nerd.
I'm all about tennis. Yes, I am.
What would you say like is the most important thing you've seen in a young player coming up? Like something you would want them to have in their mind, or something like an attitude or something?
I would say the attitude. You can see as soon they go in on a court, they just want to learn, they want to play, they play for their own as well, with their parents, with friends. I mean, they just love it. They want to be on the court, they want to succeed every practice, and that's very cool to see, and it makes my job so much easier because, I mean, I want to be there. I want to be there, and with those kind of players.
Yeah, the passion for tennis is everything, especially from a young age. Yeah. But thanks, Robert. Love the hit. Yeah. Next time, hopefully I can play with you again.
Yeah,
you in Marbella.
Of course. Thank you.